You're good. It's okay. It's okay. What's up? What's happening? What's happening, my good people? We hope. We so hope. We only hope. Better yet, we don't hope, do we, Cheryl? We know that you are having an absolute wonderful day, and we thank you so very much for. This is our 40th episode. Can you believe that, Cheryl? We made it to 40.
Yeah.
40. Yeah, we've actually made it to our 40th episode. Congrats. And so we are very, very excited to be here because a lot of times, sure, when you're doing something, people think, y'all ain't for real. Y'all ain't the truth. Y'all like, yes, we are the truth. Okay, we are the truth. And so it's going down tonight. This is our topic. We have one of our partners. Now you guys might call them what do they call them? Followers. But yes. Cheryl and I, we don't, we ain't like everybody else. We don't like that term, do we, Cheryl?
No, we don't.
No. Now don't be calling our peoples no followers. This is our partner. Yeah, this is our partner, a.k.a. Michonne. That's right. We got Michonne's girl. That's right. She is in the house. And before I get ready to introduce her, I want you guys to know what we're going to be talking about this evening and this is all from Michonne's girl, okay? Because we asked everybody. This podcast that Cheryl and I is titled "The Dumbest Ish That People Say About Black Hair." This is our 40th episode. The podcast is not, for me and Cheryl to just, be cool. It's really to be here for you guys in real time. Cheryl and I, we are only about real hair on real people in real life. That's what we do. We love people. We don't care what your hair look like, how much you have, if you don't have it. We're not into that. We are into you. And so Michonne's girl is one of proof that we love what we do. So the topic tonight is going to be navigated. Okay, I'm going to be the navigator. Yes. And Michonne's girl wants to know more about the mother texture. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is introduce, because y'all wonder like, well, who is she? Who is Michonne's girl? Ain't that right, Cheryl?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Cheryl said, I want to know who this girl is that want to interview me. Because I'm like you, Michonne. I'll be all up in Cheryl. I'll be like, Cheryl, check your phone. She'll be like, what is it, Ladosha? Anyhow, so here's what you need to know about Michonne's girl and why she really wants to know so much about the mother texture. All right, and Cheryl's just gonna walk us through a little bit more. So first of all, she's a vegan. So I got me some applesauce while y'all talking. I was gonna have some barbecue ribs, but I said, damn, she a vegan, Cheryl. I couldn't eat that.
Barbecue ribs.
Okay, all right. Well, I do have them down here just in case.
It's a good substitute for eggs and baked goods and desserts.
Okay, so she's vegan. She's also, she has a South African heritage. Okay, she's going to talk a little bit about that herself. We're going to ask her some questions. She's also a old school Gen X hip hop lover. We got our gold on. Check that out, Cheryl. We got, look, I got my BDP t-shirt. Here we go. Booty bye bye. We're saying bye to 4C hair, by the way, guys.
Thank you.
We're going to be saying bye to 4C hair because Cheryl is going to walk us through the mother texture per Michonne's girl's questions. So we're going to be able to navigate through that. So she is a old school hip hop head. And then she's going to tell us a little bit about her name, Michonne. So without further ado, give us 1 minute of your time because we only got till 7. So, we got to be like a real TV show. You only got 1 minute, okay?
Brief. You're nervous.
So tell us a little bit about who you are, your name, and all this cool stuff, and then why you chose the topic.
Put my name here.
Yeah, pull it on out. And why you chose the topic, mother texture. Now, in case you're really liking this podcast and you're like, I want to get on there, I want to talk to Cheryl too. Come on, just drop your topic in the chat. You're just going to email me, and Cheryl, she got you. I'm the shit starter. Oops, wasn't supposed to be cussing. See that? And Cheryl gonna get it all together, okay? So without further ado, Michonne's girl, tell everybody who's watching us who you are and why do you want to talk to Cheryl about this topic, the mother texture.
Well, I don't even know how I found you ladies. I think I told you my mother guided me to you to make up for how she used to do my hair when I was younger, because my mom really didn't know how to take care of my hair. She did the best that she could, and the hot comb, I have PTSD, hot comb PTSD, from her. But those times were actually the best times that I spent with her. That Sunday paper that she will put that hot comb on, the Dax grease, and so, even though I would come up with scabs, I did enjoy the time that I spent with my mom. And again, she did the best she thought she could, and so I just went through a lot of trials and tribulations with my hair, trying to learn how to take care of it. I always loved the texture because I feel like I can manipulate it in any way, and I felt unique in that way, as opposed to a lot of people that, they can only wear their hair in a particular style. But with me, if I wanted straight one day, I could wear straight one day. If I wanted curly, I could have a curly. I just, blew out my hair. I need a trim. But, just all of these options that I have, and, so I, get confused with the typing chart. I really couldn't understand 4A, 4B, 4C. If your curl was a little looser here, that's a B. So I struggle with that as well. And I have, yes.
So what is it about the mother texture that caught your attention to, like, I want to know more?
It was just the name in itself. It I don't know if it's I want to say revolutionary in a way, but it seems historical. It's something that, I don't know. It's like, sounds like the beginning of life. When I thought of the mother texture, I thought of like the tree of life and all these branches, and the branches just represented all the textures of hair, because, there's straight hair. I know you saw me put in the comments one day about cheddar man. Some people, white people are descendant of cheddar man. This is a dark skinned man with barely straight wavy hair and blue eyes, so, our hair runs the gamut. And so just to qualify it as just 4A, 4B, 4C, I just thought it was like an injustice to our hair. Right. And again, the mother texture itself, it sounded validating.
Okay. All right. It sounded validating. So
it sounded validating, self-loving.
Okay. All right. So now she has some questions for you, Cheryl. But before we get started, I have to do a little entertaining. So I took the liberty to have some clips to just help spice up and make this conversation really saucy. Yeah. So before we had this wonderful term that Cheryl is going to go more into detail, the mother texture, I'm going to show you guys some clips of what we used to hear about that hair that we just struggled with. So I have several, but I think this one is going to be the one that got this conversation started. Now, if you remember this, I want you guys to drop your comments in the chat and give us some feedback about what you remember about this clip. And then Michonne's girl, I want you to give Cheryl your first question. And then we're going to do this again after Cheryl finishes. We'll do another clip and another question, and we'll keep it going. So the clips are for entertainment purposes only. I did get them off of YouTube. I don't own the rights to the clips, so don't come after us. But here's the first clip that I think that got this conversation started, that said we as African Americans, we need to take this conversation a little bit more seriously. So let's get ready for the first clip. Go. I hope I got it right. Here we go.
Rutgers, man, they got tattoos and some hardcore hoes. That's a nappy-headed hose there, I'm going to tell you that now. Man, that's some... Ooh. And the girls from Tennessee, they all look cute, so... like kind of like a, I don't know.
Spike Lee thing.
Yeah.
The Jigaboos versus the Wannabes.
Yeah,
that movie that he had.
Yeah, it was a tough.
Do the right thing.
I don't know if I'd have.
I remember I'm from New York.
Okay, so I think that's what really got this conversation that we needed to have a little, bring the education, the science of Afro hair, the respect to the forefront, in my opinion. So Michonne, you take it away. Michonne, I'm sorry. Thank you, Cheryl. Michonne's girl, you take it away. If you're watching this post live, please drop your comments in the chat about that first clip with Imus. And so take it away, Michonne, with your first question for Cheryl.
Well, just to piggyback off of last week and the basis of this conversation, Cheryl, how did you come up and coin the term mother texture to describe Afro texture hair?
Well, because I'm an anthropologist, dealing with Black hair care history. I like to take, especially when you teach Afro cosmetology, you have to teach it from a historic, a genetic, and an anthropologic perspective if you want to get into a conversation about exclusivity. Everyone's, is inclusive, but you have to put things in its proper historic and genetic profile. And when you do, Afro cosmetology is the first cosmetology known to man. It predates Europe by tens of thousands of years. And because African people are the genetic blueprint, which means monogenetic origin, anthropologically, that means the first human, the first Homo erectus to ever walk the planet. And it happens to have certain phenotypical traits. And those phenotypical traits are akin to the oldest and first human beings. Now, why does mother nature, the netter, why does cosmic life and organisms, why do they happen to look like us? And so trying to teach cosmetology from a perspective of recessiveness or recessive genes, recessive prototypes. I don't get into the sociology, the sociology of what cosmetology means to the West. I talk about it, what it means to the world and what it means to the human story. And so that is what makes me have these abilities of dealing with hair types and things of that nature. Because hair has a profile called keratin, you can't racially profile it. And so there is no such thing as a race of hair. There's only a species, and it's called humanness. There's a human species. And just because that particular texture that grows out of your head, Michonne, is akin to the oldest and first. And I tell people first matters. First is how you deal with healthcare, blood types, human, the human, genetic story, the chromosomes. And most people don't realize that what is a chromosome? Nature only makes chromosomes. It doesn't make DNA. It makes chromosomes that have DNA inside of them. And so chromo means color. Some means body. And so naturally you would be a Black person to walk the face of the earth first, because, human life makes chromosomes, makes coloredness and vibratory, and life comes, through a vibratory perspective. So, it's naturally a conversation that most physicists know we should be having, but we don't. We talk about the political, socio-economic story of the West.
Well, that goes into the narrative, and who controls.
Right.
Sometimes it's like you think about Africa and all you hear is after, when they left.
Right.
You just, you don't hear about the inside, how they moved within the continent. All you hear is like after they left Europe, okay, well, the first bones was here, and then boom, we're in Germany or something,
That's why Afro-cosmetology talks about that longevity of the story of development, because it has thousands of years before they even migrated, which is a very good point, Michonne's girl. A very good point.
Yeah, right. Well, and I remember when I visited Africa, all I kept saying over and over, to your point, this is not the Africa that we were taught about in school. So once I was there, it was so hard to grasp the magnitude of what we contributed to the world, and how, like you said, it's just minimized. So in this next clip, in the green room, guys, Michonne's girl was talking about the struggles that she had, and she just said it again with the hair typing. And so now I'm going to show another clip that I know for a fact you all are going to agree that this would be the actual precipice of the coming out of what is happening behind the scenes of African Americans within our own homes and cultures when it comes to our hair. Cheryl, I know you just said that social stuff, you ain't even trying to get with that, but we have to admit this clip I'm about to show you is going to highlight, well, we still got to address it. And then Michonne's girl, take your next question again and talking about that 4C hair, so that Cheryl can just unpack why we really need to end the hair typing for once and for all. So get ready for this clip that I think is the beginning of how it all got started. Here we go.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Sweet Brown.
All right, come on in the chat. I know you guys have something you want to say about the wannabes and the jigaboos. Because now we did not, for those of you who are actually thinking that, black folk, we actually had that. That was coming out of Spike Lee's interpretation of culturally what we were doing to one another, taunting each other about our hair. So you had the jigaboos, you had the wannabes. And so this began, they said you pressed your hair, and they're like, you didn't comb your hair, so that's been a struggle. So Michonne, talk about your struggle with your hair and why you think this mother texture just might be the key to helping you unlock the struggle.
Well, just trying to know the right products, the right tools, the right techniques, all of that combined, trying to learn how to take care of my hair, how to take care of myself. And, I always went to the salon. First when I was young, my mom would either press my hair or plait it. Then I had the Wave Nouveau, carefree curls. Okay, actually, my cousin still has. She still wears her. She is 10 years. She's a little older than I am, and she refuses to change her hair. She loves it the way she is. It's healthy. It looks good. And I had my hair relaxed for a long time, and I knew my hair would grow. I would see that regrowth, but then I wouldn't see the length, and my hair was just being over processed, and the person that I was going to really didn't care about my hair. They really were interested in that money, because I'm telling you, every 5 weeks she was ready to slap on that relaxer, and me not knowing any better, just trusting her. And then I started to go onto YouTubes, and I saw a lot of women, talk about how their experiences in salons. And I was actually going to a person that they didn't appreciate my texture hair. And so I just decided, like, I got to get out of here, and because, this is not going to work. And so I started looking for a natural hair care person, salon, and ended up back in Harlem after about, I don't know how many years, because when I was younger, we did have a lot of Black owned salons in my neighborhood. But they were, mature women, and there wasn't anyone else to take over the business. Mm-hmm. And then when those businesses closed, you had, where I lived, the influx of people from the Caribbean, and they specialized in weaves and not so much, I think, hair, taking care of your own hair, so it was more about styling. And so, I ran the gamut. And when I finally found this place in Harlem, my hairstylist, which is a good friend, she cares about me. She checks on me, even when I'm not getting my hair done. I used to go to her every week, it's like, you don't need to come every week, come every 2 weeks. You're taking care of your hair. You need a trim. I won't even ask her, look, I sent her a picture of my hair. I was like, I got the red hair, I'm blowing out my hair. She says, it looks good. I said, yeah, I need a dusting. She was like, no, you need a detail trim, So, and I'm like, yeah. Well, when I get back to New York, because right now I'm out of state. And so that's also, caused a little difficulty because, I don't know how to cut my hair. I don't want to go to anyone else, and so that's why my ends are looking a little straggly right now.
Oh, you're good. You're good. You're absolutely good. We love that. So Cheryl, help everybody understand, because Michonne, now you kind of correct me if I'm wrong. You said something very interesting. You said that you had a licensed cosmetologist that you were going to, and you felt at some point she wasn't really helping you. And then she went to a person who specialized in natural hair. So, and I know people that are going to be watching this either in the live or post the live, sure, they want you to help them understand the difference between the hairstylist who left you hanging after all those retouches, and then that natural hairstylist who did something different. And if, again, can you tie in how educating both people with some of your, Afro cosmetology concepts, how does that bridge the gap for a consumer who's looking for, they're in the same place Michonne's girl was in, can you help us navigate through the back and forth with the two issues that she just described?
Mm-hmm. The first problem in our understanding when we are talking about an A versus a C, and then a 1 versus a 4. And that is, of course, fantasy. That is not scientifically applicable. That is not scientifically sound. So that's a way to sell product. Okay. That was not anything scientific. Okay. Mm-hmm. But of course, when you do have a people with orphan mentality, which means that we don't have any way to fill in voids when the information isn't there, so we make it up as we go. And so, but science like hair care and texture is not appropriate for that kind of usage in terms of, because it's not scientific. And when you try to problem solve, you can't problem solve with myth and things that don't really apply. So let me just say that. Second, Black people, if I'm telling you genetically that coiled hair is genetically first, okay? It's the first hair on the planet, the first hair to grow out of a human head, then that must mean that it cannot, and it does not follow traditional laws of recessive features. Coiled hair does not achieve length. It achieves height, volume, yes, mass, yes, It follows what? A circle. And the only follicles that will probably grow downward on your shoulder are the ones in your nape. But the ones on the side that goes towards the apex are going to grow height, not length, because length is a recessive trait, which means that if this is a magnetic electrofield, most people say electromagnetic field. That's fine. Means basically the same thing, but that's another subject. That means that first humans with dominant prototypes, dominant hair, coiled hair, you will never achieve hair that's going to grow down to your shoulders, because that is what the body allows in recessive traits. It's a recessive trait. And once Black people can just get their mind wrapped around that Afro-ness allows you what? Height, volume, and mass. That's a 15, 15, 15, and 15. Makes a 360-degree circle. That is what dominant prototypes do. They follow dominant laws. And unfortunately, as you get lighter and lighter and lighter, and then you get European descent, the hair starts taking on what we call recessiveness. Then the hair begins to be wavy. Then it grows towards the ground. But once you go dominant, it must grow in a dominant direction. And that is what we are trying to get people to understand. Dominance is first. That's where mother comes in. Your mother texture is what is on the planet first. It's dominant. It will always be dominant. It will only create a co-dominant. And after co-dominant, you have recessive, and then you have co-recessive. Co-recessive and then recessive. Straight bone, straight hair. But bone, straight hair and co-recessive cannot make dominant features. And that's why. And so it's an anthropologic. And let me just say this. You don't have difficulty with styling your hair, sweetheart. You don't have difficulty with these things. You have a misunderstanding of how they work because you're working it from a recessive Western ideology of it. And once you get it reversed, then everything becomes easy because you're working with the dominant attributes and the dominant laws of how to fashion dominant hair. Then that will. And let me just say this. Black people are only parroting whiteness because it only has whiteness to define itself. And so you're trying to work yourself back.
Hold on, you went out.
Textures. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Can you read? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the last part you're
muted.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that last part? It kind of, the technical went out.
No problem.
Okay.
Most Black people don't have a difficulty with their styling techniques because your mother, and most mothers, like you said, your mother did try.
Yeah.
But she didn't get taught. And maybe someone didn't teach her mother and her aunts and her grandmother. So, but it was taboo to teach it because hair is a part of how you move in the world. It's anthropologic. It's how you feel in the world on a collective energy level. Okay. It's how we define ourselves in the world, in the environment, in our endogenous and indigenous diaspora. You weren't supposed to have it. That's part of the mistreatment. You know, miseducation is the ultimate mistreatment. So if that would make sense for in dealing with
we got you. Yeah. We do have a question in the chat. What's up, Miss Foster? I see you. So Miss Foster is questioning. So does that mean that if you have Afro hair, are we only supposed to wear afros? And I know you're not being cynical, Ms.
That was
Foster,
one of my questions coming up.
Okay. All right. Okay, all right. So answer that for us, Cheryl, and then we have the next clip, and that's really going along with how I thought this would go. So can you help Miss Foster out and Michonne's? Does that mean that we just pick it out and just rock the afro?
No, it's your ground zero. It is where you come back to. It is your core.
Canvas.
Yeah, it's your core, because you have to understand it needs to live for the most part in its dominant state, not natural state. Forget natural. Every hair on the planet is natural. It's all keratin. It's all fiber. It's all fabric. It's all the same.
Answering my questions.
So the point is, but African descending people that have the most dominant features, and that is the coil. The afro-ness of that coil must govern the majority of the wearing, so you can get it back to your ground zero, back to your core, back to it. Because once you understand Michonne's girl, I want you to remember, if there's nothing else you remember, when you blow dry your hair, that is a recessive state, but it's also a tension state. When Black people relax, when curly hair relaxes, it does the opposite of what straight hair does. When straight hair relaxes, it goes straight. When curly hair, coil dominant hair, when it relaxes, it goes back coily. So it's not reverting, it's relaxing. So you must allow it to go back to ground zero as the majority of the core of the wearing. You can wear it blow dry. You can wear it any way you want to wear it, but you must return it to its ground zero, which it's cosmetic behavior. Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense. It makes total sense.
Because relaxing is the coil,
right? Not the straightness,
right? That's the tension.
For others, the is the opposite. I totally get it.
Because dominance, so you don't have to say natural state. No, you just need to return it to its dominant state, that the hair knows that it's recovering, it's back in its coil. That's the original dominant state of it. When you're blow drying and flat ironing, no, you're actually creating tension, and you are putting it in a recessive state. And it's opposite as you go back to the master mother texture, and then as you go back to the European textures, it goes backwards. So when you turn to 7, it flips over. When you go back to 7 the other way, it flips over. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
It makes a lot. It makes a lot of sense, and I'm sure everybody's like light bulb, but there's always a but, Cheryl. So here's a clip. You ready, Michonne? You're gonna love this one. Here's a clip that I think that really encompasses how the book. Now I'm just gonna speak for myself and the people that are around me. So Michonne, you can let me know after you watch it, and then Cheryl, you let us know if you can relate. That I think that this is the mind thought where a lot of people, some of us are still at, and some of us just came out of this school of thought. Now this is about a little close to a minute. So let's hear how this conversation went back in the day. All right, here we go.
It's Time Out with Bill Boggs.
Well, I welcome you, everybody, and let's face it, this is a sensitive issue, and all discrimination, no matter where it comes from, is bad. But let's try to find out more about the subject. According to sociologists, for a long time, and the latest Spike Lee movie, a form of prejudice exists in the black community based on skin color. Now, with me right now, I have 2 black women. Tanya, right, you are obviously a light-skinned black, right? You go to the University of Pennsylvania. How old are you?
I'm 20.
20. At this point in your life, what kind of, if any, prejudice have you experienced from the black community because of your skin tone?
Well, I received experienced some hostility and resentment from dark-skinned black women because I was light-skinned.
How does it manifest itself? What do you hear?
Well, it begins when I walk down the street with my boyfriend who is black. I receive a lot of evil looks and stares with him, and I think a lot of them think that I am white, and they don't appreciate that. And I've been accused by a lot of black women of stealing their boyfriends who supposedly only wanted me because I was light-skinned and had good hair.
What you talking about, Will?
I've experienced that.
Now, when you use the term, and this is in Spike Lee's movie, is the whole thing about hair, and I just mentioned the term what is it?
Jigaboo.
What's a jigaboo?
A jigaboo is anyone who's dark-skinned and has an afro and natural hair, black features, anything that is not white.
Now, who made that term up?
I think it begins way back in slavery.
All right, and what about wannabes?
Wannabes that term comes from wannabe white, and that's light-skinned black people with good hair.
The dumbest shit people say about black hair.
Listen, I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. How's she 20 years old? Oh, Lord, the melanin mist. Lord have mercy. That's 20?
Well, let me just say this.
I'm sorry.
Once you get into Afro cosmetology and you understand that, this is a vibrating universe. And when you are of dark skin, blue, black hue, and you're very dark, those are very, very high frequency bloodlines. And the further you get away from those nucleuses of very rich, dominant African ancestry, it takes less energy to develop the next generation or the next genetic origin. So light-skinned people can be given light skin, but they can also be given very thick, coily hair. And then Africa can give very dark-skinned people very straight hair and blue eyes. And that's when you get into the wonderful inheritance of Africa in terms of ancestry. It gave us everything, all of us something, okay, of dominance.
Gave us
you're not talking about anything that nature gave us. That is all sick, neurotic, psychological, and political and socioeconomic talk. That unfortunately,
you're saying. So I'm sorry. So you're saying, Hirsch, because there is still a belief that light skin, good hair, dark skin, nappy. So you're saying, just
when you talk about it in terms of genetics, and you talk about it in terms of ancestry, and you're talking about in genes and science and chromosomes and DNA. Once you start talking about it like that, dark is king, coil is king and queen. You're talking which means that because of them being dark-skinned people first, and there's tightly coiled 1C, 1A, 1B hair, which is black people's dark, coily, that is the most human dominant phenotraits you can have. Because that exists, all of us get to look like what we look like because of that dominant presence. You can't have anything else after that because you've never seen them, right? You've never seen anybody, because those are your Lucy origins. Those are your Adam and Eve origins coming out of the Great Lakes region of Africa. Okay, so that means that dominance created every subsequent variation. That's why hair typing is not scientific. There's only one hair. There's only one mother. There's only one hair. And that hair is what they call mahet, the coiled one. That is an energetic, magnetic energy producing human being. And it vibrates at the highest level. So Afro hair is first. It's not fourth. It's not third. It's not second. It is first. And that's why it's important. That's why I call it the mother texture, just so we won't confuse people who are just tied up into the hair typing conversation.
Okay. All right. We're doing pretty good. I do see your next question, Ms. Foster. We're going to get to it. So let me do this This is our last clip, okay? And then Michonne, girl, you can come in with your question after this one because I knew the scientific part would come up. So in case you guys are wondering, is there anybody anywhere in America really doing some science on Afro hair outside of Cheryl? Okay, she can't be the only one. Now, I know you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but when I tell you I searched high and I searched low, I only found one person on the planet outside of Cheryl who publicly gave their school of thought about textured hair and its strange phenomenon. So I'm going to show the clip. And then Cheryl, you're going to address what she's saying. Michonne's going to come in with your next question. And Miss Foster, I'm going to get to your question about the knottiness in the hair. So let's show this clip. This is another, she is a PhD. I think she's out of East Liverpool. She's actually American, bless you. And she's studying Afro hair and trying to gain an understanding and put some science to it. So, and I will put this link to the actual webinar after the live so you guys can go on and watch it. But here she goes. All right, let's hear what she has to say.
Environmental factor that we want to think about here is solar radiation. Knowing that humans evolved in equatorial Africa, we know that the evolutionary environment that shaped human evolution, especially early human evolution, would have been one of high solar radiation. This is in line with a lot of the things that we know about skin color and the evolution of especially darker pigmentation. And thinking of UV radiation and how damaging it can be, melanin and an epidermis that's very pigmented would be a great source of protection.
Okay, hold on, wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute.
I'm even looking at the chats.
Sorry, there we go. I got it now. I got it this time. Okay, so there you have some scientific purposes and thoughts about why this hair coils and textures, but not quite what the everyday person is looking for. So you guys can see they're actually trying to figure out what was the purpose of this hair. That's where they're at least this particular PhD student. They're in a different place. And I'm not trying to tell a lady what to study on, but just by your question, Ms. Foster, and then your comments, Michonne's girl, and even while you came on the live, it seems to me that academia is way off of what people are looking for when it comes to understanding Afro hair, unlike yourself. And I'm not just saying that because she's not a hairstylist, but I just wanted you guys to see. What did you think about some of the where she was at in her research? And then Michonne, come through with your next one. And Ms. Foster, I got you.
My turn. Their arrogance still separates it in a conversation as if they're making the hair separate and the human being. Because see, the human being is on that particular geographical high electromagnetic field, right? And as above, so below. So we have an electromagnetic field. Our eyeballs have an electromagnetic field. Our lips have an electromagnetic field. Our body is an electromagnetic field. But we don't want to talk about the Afro-ness of the whole human being that produces the Afro. See, the body produces the Afro. The Afro-ness of the body produces the Afro. It's not separate. And so they want to, Western thought and Western education always separates the traits and the phenotypical dominant traits. The more dominant, they want to talk about it as if it's separate. And that is what I try to correct in Afro cosmetology, because there's only one subject here. If you talk about the mother, you're talking about the babies. And if you're talking about the babies, then you're talking about their ancestors. Because I don't have my face. I got somebody else's face. And so if I have Afro-ness, I got somebody else's Afro-ness. It's ancient and it's not separate from my body. It's not separate from my blood. If I produce Afro textured hair, I have Afro textured blood because it's producing the chromosome information to produce me to look like the way I'm looking. So it's not just on the outside. And that's what I would say, because solar radiation in this conversation is electromagnetic field. And the electromagnetic field, as it moves to and fro, is a coil. That is how nature moves.
Wow,
nature moves in a coil.
You look up curl math.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that exists. Curl mathematics. It was I didn't even know that.
That's the only mathematics. Let me ask you a question. If anyone can look up the word when they say arithmetic, somebody here look up rith. WRITHE. What is arithmetic mean? Rith. Somebody Google it.
Hold on, I can.
I see you, G. We got Greg Gilmore in the chat. What's up? I see you. So here we go. Rith means to twist into coils or folds.
Curl math, right there.
That is the only math on the planet.
Right there.
The only way the universe moves. That's the
so
only thing that matters.
Facts, science. That's what is so empowering. When thinking about the mother texture, I thought about I was thinking about Beyonce's song "Alien Superstar." I was like, it's this other, this worldly other being, that has blessed the earth.
Is the master key.
Oh my
coil,
God.
The coiled one. That's where you come from. That is how energy, radiation, solar, water, air, everything moves in a coil. That's the impact of the African self. You can't separate it just because we have nappy hair, but nappy hair is a socio-political term to control your movements, because there's only movement and sound and energy in the universe. That's all we are. So if we have coiled hair, we're dark skinned, big lips, and all that good stuff, all you're telling us is how your DNA and your chromosomes came into this world, how they're active. They're very active. And when you go up in energy, what? You get a tighter sound wave. You get lower in radio waves. They're large. They're just, and that's when, we're getting into something else. I got you.
Okay.
That could be another podcast.
That could be another one. All right. Okay. So give us another question, Michonne, and then Miss Foster wants to come through. You got to explain the naughtiness, the kinkiness, why this hair is just, because that is something that, women are just like, listen, these podcasts, these hair care products, these hairstyles, these natural, y'all getting on our nerves because we still struggling with the naughty head. So we got you, Miss Foster. Michonne, give her your next question. And Michonne wants to know.
The knots.
Yeah.
I usually get them when I don't trim my hair. I usually get a little single when I don't have a good trim. That's actually when I usually get them. Other than that, I don't have single strand knots. As long as I keep up a good trim schedule. But like I said, for me, I haven't had a trim since September. Okay, so that's about 4 months, and for me, in my case, I needed at least seasonally, at least every three to 4 months, I need a trim, or else I'm going to start getting single strand knots. You can even see the ends of my hair,
The Did you have another question before
I'm sorry.
Before Michonne's girl. I didn't want to jump over, and we got you. I mean, before Miss Foster, we got you, Miss Foster.
No,
but
get your Miss Foster what she's saying, because some of what she's asking are actually questions that I have. Like what the definition of what we were just talking about, natural hair. If I heat style my hair, am I not a natural anymore? If it is natural, is it different than chemical? Or when you color your hair, are you natural? Are you, when you relax your hair, that they say that you're not natural anymore, but aren't you breaking the bonds the same thing as coloring? So I'm just trying to get all of that kind of understanding,
Right.
Because people try to straight hair is like an anti-blackness, it's self-hate. And I do not. My mother didn't self-hate herself, and she straightened her hair. She did everything with her hair. She just considered herself very stylish, She did like how she changed her clothes. She'll wear, she did the thing with her hair. It's straight one day, it's curly the next. She wears a wig one day, she wears a wrap. So, sometimes you hear a lot of natural women or women with the mother texture say, oh, if you straighten your hair, you want to be white, or, and I'm like, well, they're white. Black people have the same texture too as white people too. So I don't understand, so.
I wish.
Yeah. So sure. Help with that, but also in the chat, what she's saying is that it's naughty all over. They're just confused about why this is happening. So go ahead, Cheryl.
Well, two things. Let me just, before I get to Ms. Foster's question, I really wish that Black people would stop subgrouping. We can't afford. We're not sophisticated enough to subgroup.
Ooh.
Because we're getting the conversations so twisted in there, and we don't have enough sophistication to understand that Europe does not, has not, will never have a beauty regimen that did not start in hygiene. Black people's beauty is not in hygiene. There's two different things. With that being said, either you're having a cosmetic treatment, your hair that came out of your head, which is already natural. It can't get unnatural, okay? Because if you were to be dead and you were a cadaver, the geneticists and the physicists and the forensic pathologists would still say human. It don't care if it's bleached human. It don't care if it don't say, oh, well, she had bleached hair. So
it's not relaxed. If it's relaxed, it's human too.
Right. So right. So the pathologist is still gonna say she had hair. They're not gonna subgroup it out and say it was relaxed hair and it was this hair and that. It's still a keratin fiber. But let me just say this, but we're not talking about cosmetics and science. We're talking about a political racist paradigm. And once you understand that Europe, when they talk about their beauty, they're talking about it in the paradigm as opposite of you. And you keep talking about yours as opposite of them. There's only one. When Europe met you and saw you, because they finally got brave enough to sail someplace, they wrote about you in honor for 4,000 years, 2,000 years. This Western American slavery racist paradigm you're talking about is so new, but you have to talk about it in its context. It has nothing to do with features and science. It is a control mechanism, and it's called Afrophobia. It's not racism. It's not that. And I know we need a really long town hall.
Ooh.
I know we do, but that is why we keep having it. We're not having the conversation that we think we're having at the same time. Now, let me address the knots. Scientifically, once you unfold, Black people's hair is once you cut it away from the body, and you were to put it next to linen, a rabbit, a llama, a horse, or any other types of hair fibers, okay? What makes your hair unique is its ability to twist. Now, the problem is that if you were to straighten your hair with a flat iron or heat or whatever, right? Black dominant hair types, like Black people's hair, is the only hair that still has a movement inside of water, which means that it carries a genetic memory because of the dominance of the coil, because it'll always remember the coil, right? Which means that in terms of when you go microscopically, Black people's hair is twisted 4 times. You have the twist on the outside, then you have a twist in the cortex, and then you have another cable that's twisted inside of the medulla. So it's twisted 3 times, okay? And there's an electromagnetic field within the follicle, which makes it twist. That's why the follicles sit at an apex. But that's a whole nother long story. But I will say, knots, you have to remember, people, Black people, please understand that hair is a fiber, and it weathers like wool, it weathers like cotton, it weathers like silk, it weathers like linen, it weathers like nylon. It will weather. Okay. And however, if your hair is 6 inches to 7, 8 inches long, like yours is, Michonne's girl, it's gonna weather. It's a natural occurrence of having a fiber. Keratin fibers weather. It has nothing to do with a defect. And long hair, you must baby it. You must cut it if you want it to have the same majority all the way down. If you don't care about it having the same. Now, the only problem that presents is when you're starting to curl it and you want it the whole body. Well, guess what? Where does a flag weather? Where does a flag weather?
I would say at the ends, the end of the
ends. So is something wrong with the flag?
Nope.
No, because fibers, if they're woven, they're gonna weather at the ends. It's physics. It ain't race. It ain't cosmetic. It ain't because you made the wrong decision. It ain't none of that. It's a fibrous fiber. It is supposed to tear. That's what makes it a fiber. It's like your fingernails. You don't ever go around saying, girl, I got to get my fingernails trimmed every 3 months because, you know. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a fiber. I mean, if you comb it and brush it and wear it, you know, if it's, you know, and of course, the ends of a flag doesn't weather unless it's what? Moving.
Blowing, wet, just going through a lot of the elements.
Right. So it's the aerodynamic. It's the whip of the wind. And it kind of just, you know, it tightens and it just loosens up. And then once it loosens, you just cut them.
So the knottiness that we are feeling in our hair, guys, it's like, and you did put that in the chat, Miss Foster. That's normal. And that's why we keep telling you guys, we just can't say it enough. Please stop falling for this crap that they're selling you, that you're just going to be totally knotty free, kink, you know, all this kinky. I don't want to just make those products seem bad, but we hope that you all are understanding. They are selling you something that is so, I don't know, maybe sure you can capture it better than what I'm trying to say of what's happening with this natural hair stuff that people are just caught, they're fixed. That somehow, oh, you're good, that the hair is not because I don't think I've ever even heard anybody explain it like you, that it's supposed to do that when these products are telling us that they can take you out of this knottiness with the moisture and the hydration and the lock method so we feel you, Miss Foster, but just help us.
At the end of the day, and it's unfortunate that we talk about moisture in terms of you really can't moisturize something if it's in its natural state. And if its natural state and its dominant state is to be hydrophobic, cosmetology needs to come up with a different way. And I mean, all cosmetologists need to come up with a better way to explain that to the consumer body. Now, but if you can be cosmetic altered and treated in an enhanced way, because you can enhance it, however, and you can exercise it and stretch it, and you can really get the hair to be extremely, because it's a fiber. Here we go again. I can make a cotton shirt look better if I can put the moisture in and do other things, but I have to alter it in some way. But because altering in the natural world is a defect, not an effect. See, it's a defect. And we have to change, of course, once again, we have the bad language, the bad context. No one can correct it because we're not sophisticated enough to correct it. And then we get down into having these consumer grade, low level conversations that really don't do anything and move us. We don't really have the aha moments. We don't really say, okay, that makes sense. And we need to have more of those conversations because consumers, we've been Black a long time. And if you have coiled hair and if you're moving it and you're and you're laying on it and you're doing things, it is going to interwoven and create little hooks because the nature of it is to curl in. That's the point. It's not just has coils. The hair grows in a coil.
Like a vine. I think of vines.
Right. So it may get in there and get hooked and all that good stuff, but the lack of knowledge, it just creates things. And the moisture conversation is so much more sophisticated. Unfortunately, cosmetologists have not gotten that.
I think sometimes they think moisture is softness. Well,
moisture.
Slip.
Well, we haven't deciphered the difference between hydration, dehydration, wetness, and moisture. So we as cosmetology, we have not decided which one a consumer is talking about when they're talking about it. And we as a profession have to define it and get it more scientifically sound. So when we say it behind the chair or say it in front of the chair and say it on TV and say it on podcast, we can say these things and make sense so the consumer can say, okay, got it, makes sense. And so it won't sound like mumbo jumbo. And then little Willis, my man,
what you talking about?
Okay, we're coming up. We got a few more minutes, Cheryl. This is very interesting. Christopher, I want to go ahead and put your comment up because this one is fire. I don't even know how to. Oh, it's getting a little spicy here, Cheryl. So, Christopher, I'm going to welcome. To our 40th podcast. We're so glad to have one of our new partners. We got Christopher Burke in the house. So I'm going to drop his comment up in the chat, and I think you're going to find this one quite interesting. Let's see. He says, our hair is ours, therefore it's natural. Okay. That's why we make our own products to solve the problems and share how to take care and make good hair. Okay. Unpack that a little bit. So, Mr. Burke, we're going to take your comment of making our own product. And then Cheryl, kind of go back and forth with the altering, and it's got to be natural because that's the challenge, is that people are making products under this our own, and that, as a cosmetologist, to me, is probably the biggest problem. Let's thank you, Mr. Burke, for your comment. So Cheryl, take that one away.
I will say this. I respect Mr. Burke. I know him personally. But what we have to do as all of us in our legacy, this is our legacy, and I agree with that. This is our hair, but most of all, this is our hair care industry. And I am pro-Black. I am pro-entrepreneur. I am pro-Black ownership and Black access. But my people are not there yet. We are not cosmetically and chemically and scientifically in a place to where we can have a conversation about better ways to create everything. And Mr. Burke is a barber. And I don't think that we have created, let's just take barbering for example. We have less Black ownership in barbering in products than we do in hair care in terms of the salon. I mean, my brothers are still using aftershave, letting white folks make aftershave for them, and shaving creams and
burning
powders and all but I mean, I'm not trying to rag on my brothers, but what I'm saying is that we need to get into Black innovation, get a lot more sophisticated with our scientific understanding of our Blackness. Blackness, as Dr. Sebi would say, is the only science. Blackness is the only science. The Black body, the Black chemistry, what makes everyone on the planet able to walk the planet is that's the science. And I think once we get that understood, and then don't confuse Afro-cosmetology with Afrophobia, and don't confuse racism with Afrophobia. You're talking about a phobia of anything Black when in the face of Western thought. Because when you were on the plantation and you were doing Missy's hair, they didn't have a problem with you doing it. You created all those wonderful braided, wonderful styles that Miss White Missy was wearing. So those hairstyles can become interwoven. Europe, it's been loving and adoring African features for thousands of years. So, in my answer to him, Black ownership, I'm not worried about Black ownership, because if you don't have the right Blackness to make the Black innovation, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not concerned with Black ownership in Black products. I need to solve Black problems with Black intellectual prowess. That's what we need to do, just in my opinion.
Woo-wee! Okay, what's up? We got Atlanta. We got my BFF. What's up, Monica? I see you. She said good evening. We got the man who taught me how to do some real hair, because y'all know I can't do no hair. We got NYC representing, baby. We got my homeboy Scrappers in the house. We got some more NYC love in the chat. As a matter of fact, y'all go ahead on and drop in the chat what city, what state y'all representing. Also, shout out you guys' favorite, your hairstyles, where you're going to get your hair from, get your hairstyle and your barber, so people can know where to find you, because we all can't bum rush Cheryl's pad, though she did just have a birthday. So happy belated birthday, Cheryl. Yes, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. And so next year, y'all know what that means, right? We are going to be live in San Diego next year on her birthday. That's right. So I'm just letting y'all, because I missed your birthday this year. I'm feeling some kind of way. I would have loved to come. So next year, we're going to get everybody all pumped. We are going to ascend upon San Diego and just do something fascinating, wonderful for your birthday next year without your permission. So get ready. It's going down, okay? So at the end of the day, Cheryl, we really appreciate you taking us on this deep dive about the mother texture outside of what we think of it in the physicality of it. That you've given us a real deep in depth when you're talking about electromagnetic. When you're talking about it being first, when you're talking about curl math. It's so much bigger. And unfortunately, it is sad that the Western school of thought has not gone beyond, as we saw in that clip, where it is being, and you're right, it is definitely being separated. I will put the link to her research. She's doing research so that you guys can watch it for yourself, just to see, why there is a big disconnect, and why, like Cheryl said, we do need to take this thought on Afro hair and have some really good high intellect. And Cheryl is just one person, but so we need some more. If this is your lane, please join us. We are having an Afro Hair Science summit that's coming up here in Cleveland for free. If you are a licensed professional here in Cleveland, we are offering free support, education and support to licensed barbers, nail techs, hairstylists, cosmetologists, the last Monday of every month. So just keep following me on my social media platforms, and we'll keep you up to date on that. Michonne, do you have any closing thoughts for us? Because we appreciate you, and we want to invite more people. If you have a topic that you want Cheryl and I, I'm sorry, we're gonna invite you that last week, whoever in the chat, like, I want to talk with you and Cheryl about this in more details. Please feel free. You don't have to show your face, though we love to. So that's that. So Michonne's, any last thoughts about this whole topic, and just a question or whatever?
I'm just thankful that I found you ladies. This is a great way to spend my Monday evenings. Yes. Getting science, community, culture, history, and again, just coming here with the science about my hair. You can't dispute the science, and you ladies are basically the hair care, the Afro Textured Mythbusters.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
And I'm so appreciative of you ladies. But I will say that there are a few cosmetologists on YouTube that I do see that are trying to debunk all of the natural hair myths, and just trying to give scientific information to clients. They're trying to reverse what is, like you ladies, that's been going on for a decade or so. And I'm thankful I found you.
Well, you know what?
It's a new home. New community of sisters.
Well, thank you. You are our sisters. On our platform, remember, you guys are not followers. You are our partners. Michonne's girl is not a follower. She's a partner. We don't use that terminology here. We don't have any concept of that, by the way. So please continue to partner with us. There's no topic that's too large, too small, or unadulterated that we really won't help to get you guys to understand. So continue to partner with us. Cheryl, come on and close us out with another thought on the mother texture, just in case somebody, oh man, I missed it. What did I miss? People always want to hear what Cheryl has to say at the end. So I'm going to mute this mic and just, close us out with some thoughts about this whole natural hair, textured hair, 4C hair, because at the end of the day, it is our goal. We're going to end that terminology. You can best believe before the end of the year is out, it won't even be used anymore. And it started right here because of Michonne's girl. Okay,
I'm trying to push it with my friends. Actually, I even on little other places that I go online, I put that in there, and I had some people, mother texture. That's right, mother texture. I'm first.
That's right.
That's right. Okay, alien superstar.
Let me just say this. Remember the first clip when you had Mr. Imus? He had a visceral trigger. And I want you guys to understand what a Afrophobia trigger sounds like. And when you are dealing with a level of global low self-esteem as the European has a very, very low individual self-esteem. in the power game of the Western world. They just have very strong collective self-esteem. We have a low collective self-esteem, but we have a very powerful individual self-esteem. They have the opposite. But when you listen to him talk about something he has no idea about, he sounds afraid. He sounds as if you would think that they call it mad dogs and Englishmen. Only a crazy man that would cross the burning sands of the Sahara. That's why they say that. But that is a visceral trigger. That's an anthropologic trigger of being in the midst of dominant people, and you internally and psychologically being inferior. So we as Black people in the 21st century must understand that we need to talk about the mother texture in a way that honors her, that honors this particular ancestry, that honors it, that we don't talk about it in the racist paradigm. That is beneath us. That is Afrophobia. That is triggering and talking about other races of people's triggers when they are in the midst of our presence. That is none of our business. And we just need to cater to that conversation and put it in its proper space and understand that our image, that trigger, has sold everything from rice to tobacco. So obviously they don't have a problem with it. They only have a problem with it when they are not allowed to control its movements. And so in our movements, but we have to be very cognizant that we don't whip each other with it, that we must get the context correct when we're talking to each other with it, and not going to the global market confused and triggered ourselves, and then end up insulting each other and dishonoring each other. So that's what my ministry and my goal is with you guys on this particular podcast, is to make sure that we're talking about ourselves in an honorable way, the way the world and where Europe used to talk about us as the world's beautiful people. And so we can get back to that conversation. And if we get off, well, we get on the podcast and we talk about it.
That's it. You have me back.
That is it. And with that, on that note, I concur with you. I don't scrap Underwood. That I strongly applaud you too, Cheryl. Michonne's girl, it took a lot of heart to come on and do this and take this conversation, because it can't just be me and Cheryl. We know we're not the only ones, and we don't want you to be afraid of what you don't know, and we also don't want you to be afraid of what you do know. And so we are just, like she said, this is a platform. We're here for you. Mr. Christopher Burke, I'm going to award you with a free book by me. I hope you want it. I'll get your information from Cheryl. Okay, so you're gonna win the free book. I'll put it in the mail and mail it to you tomorrow. This is my book, What They Don't Tell You at the Hair Salon, and the tagline is that it's time for a new conversation about hair. And Cheryl, we really, really do thank you so much for helping us really love who we are authentically. Anybody, again, if you want to join us, drop your request in the chat, and you'll just email me at ladoshaw@yahoo.com. I'll put that in the chat, and we will be back next month. Begins when we come back, it'll be Black History Month. So Cheryl, what I would like for us to do, we both have these two books. You have your book, Beauty and Wealth, and then I have my book, and we're just going to pick 2 chapters out of our book. We're going to go back and forth, and just so you guys can I want some more school of thought for you guys about your book and Cheryl's book. So Cheryl's going to pick a chapter, and I'm going to pick one. We'll go back and forth, and we're just going to highlight what we think you guys would gain from our books. This is Black History Month, and what better books to build your personal library than with my book and Cheryl's book, okay? So we're going to do that next month. And again, if you have something that you want to talk about, you are our partners. You are not our followers. So partner with us. Click that thumbs up button so that everybody can know. Michelle's girl said, this is where the place you come to and we bust the myth. And Cheryl said she likes that, okay, guys? She likes that. So on that note, I'm going to say our famous closing out, and that is, it's always about a whole lot of peace, a whole lot of love, most certainly a whole lot of hair, right? But y'all know what we say, if you ain't got no hair, you don't want no hair, you can't stand hair, you can't grow it, you plan on cutting it off in 2024, we say, don't worry about it. Just do what Michelle's girl is doing. Rub your beautiful bald head, because she said bald heads are beautiful too. Bald patches, all that's beautiful too. And so are you. We'll be back next week, and we're going to start off with Cheryl's book. All right. Thank you guys so much. I have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Michelle. We love you.
Love you, ladies. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a good night.
Good night.